Hey everybody, welcome to the Plasterer's Lodge playlist. Now, this focuses on making realistic surface textures for your dioramas using plasters and glues, adhesives, mortars, grout, that type of thing. Now, today's video is going to be a two-part video, and they're both basically samples that I'm going to be practicing on for a final project, which is what I'll just start working on now, which is this. It's your typical traditional medieval style two-story house. You've got the stone floor, and then you've got your traditional wattle and daub timber framing at the top. So you get the timber framing and the plaster in the middle. The first video, I'm going to be focusing on just the plaster and the timber. I want to see how it's done and what's the best way to do it without creating too much of a mess and ruining. So I don't want to test it on the final project. I want to test it on something that I can mess up on and then learn from. And then the second video is going to be, it's going to be the same thing, but I wanted to try to throw some of that wattle in there so it's kind of exposed. So basically the old traditional wattle and daub. The wattle is the old sticks, the woven sticks inside the plaster, and then the plaster is put on top of those to kind of create like a drywall, and that's called daub, wattle and daub. So the first video is going to be just the daub, which is the plaster, and the timbers, and then the second video, I'm going to try to have it so that wattle is kind of peeking out and breaking out through some of that daub. Just kind of make it look like the building is falling apart. So that's what we're going to be working on this video and the next video after that. So let's get started. So here is the floor, the second floor of my medieval village lane house with the timber walls. Now this is the thing that I wanted to do a test sample for because I don't want to practice on the actual final wall until I figured out what I'm doing. And what you're looking at here is the actual finished sample. Here I just cut 2 extra lengths of the foam core to build these sample walls on. There's going to be 2 of them. The goal was to try various techniques and materials to see what was going to work best. And right now, I'm not being very careful. I just want to kind of create a shape of these walls with the timbers, nothing too specific or measured out. I would like to make a note though that there was something very weird going on with this batch of balsa wood. It was very hard, very shiny. It did not take the wire brush texture to kind of make it look like really roughed up timber, and it did not take stain or paint it took paint fine, but it didn't take the wood stain very well. The balsa wood here was very, very hard, not like at all like the second version I'm going to be doing. As I said briefly before, I was interested in trying different techniques and materials to create this wattle and daub wall. The first section I wrote Dax, but my clay is all dried out, but I'm going to be using a different type of air dry clay, and then I'm going to be using Sculpt-A-Mold in the middle and to the left. I am taping off a portion of this because I wanted to see if the Sculpt-A-Mold was going to stick to the wood and cause problems. So I just taped it off as a technique to kind of see if that's something that I would be doing in the future. Here I'm just going to give the balsa wood a little shot of that good old clear acrylic coating just to kind of seal it up a little bit, again to protect it from the Sculpt-A-Mold. Now I've never used Sculpt-A-Mold before, so I don't really know what to expect other than what I've seen in other people's videos. But these are all my materials of choice to go into battle with. So here I'm just going to start the mixing process and find out what happens. Now, unfortunately, I forgot to turn on the camera at this point, so I have already put down some Sculpt-A-Mold into the areas that we're going to have it. But here you just see me using a putty knife to kind of get out the excess. Trying to figure out exactly how this stuff feels and works. so I know what to expect. And you may be asking yourself, why didn't I just use regular old plaster? I've seen it done before. I thought it was going to be a little too messy, a little too liquidy, so I didn't want to give that a shot. And based on what I've seen from the Sculpt-A-Mold, I was kind of hoping it was going to have a little bit more texture and variety to the surface than plaster has. And in reality, that's what happened. The Sculpt-A-Mold has a really cool texture to it because of the paper inside of it. All right, so it's been a bunch of hours. The Sculpt-A-Mold is hard. It's definitely not dry. That seems to be that it's going to take a long time for it to harden up. But the Sculpt-A-Mold on the two panels on the left, I like how it's flush with the wood or the timber. The two metal panels that had the tape on it, the tape was actually created enough thickness that it left the Sculpt-A-Mold higher than the wood, which I definitely did not like that technique at all. As you can see, I wrote down the word Dax because I was planning on using my Dax air drying clay, but the stuff that I had was completely all dried out, so I had to go to Hobby Lobby and grab some other stuff that I had to use here. It behaves like Dax exactly. It was a lot stiffer, a lot more resistant to molding and pushing into the crevices than the Sculpt-A-Mold. Not really sure I liked it, but I wanted to give it a shot, see what I could do with it. Here I'm kind of giving it a little bit more texture with some Scotch Brite, kind of add some little texture. Here I'm using a wire brush to kind of get a little bit more of that wood texture into this balsa wood. But again, this balsa wood is a little resistant to that. Now, I opted to use a dark walnut wood stain instead of acrylic paint. It made sense to me that since it's actual wood, that maybe I should use a product that's used for staining wood different colors. And it worked really, really well. Unfortunately for this particular balsa wood, it didn't take the stain very well. Okay, so that first copy is done. Now I'm going to make a duplicate copy using some different techniques. Here I'm going to rough up the balsa wood first, and this balsa wood's a little bit softer. And I'm also going to use some dark walnut stain, and I'm going to stain it beforehand instead of after. And also with this version, it's going to be all Sculpt-A-Mold. I want to kind of perfect it and get better at it and see what else I need to learn from it. Here again, I'm going to give it another shot of clear acrylic coating just so the Sculpt-A-Mold maybe doesn't stick as much. Now here I wrote air clay again, but basically I'm just a big fat liar, or I don't know what I'm talking about. But I wanted to try something else, and it was not air clay. What I was going to do is I was going to take that Sculpt-A-Mold and make a real thin sheet of it and spread it out onto wax paper. Make a real thin sheet, let it dry, and I was going to try using a template and cut it into a shape that would then fit into the timber area of the wall. I wanted to see if that technique worked or looked better than just smushing it in there and getting it with the palette knife. Now that it's dried, I need to create a couple templates in order to cut out the shapes that I need. But this is just like plaster, so it's really, really hard to cut, and it's also pretty brittle. And a side note, why would anybody make tracing paper that you can't see through? What is the deal with this? I just bought an entire roll of it and it's useless. So I grabbed a piece of my vellum that I have that's obviously a little bit more see-through and used that to kind of create the template to cut out the shapes that I was going to use for that thin piece of Sculpt-A-Mold. To save time and be smart about this, I figured why cut these out with scissors? I might as well just go lay them on top of the thin layer of Sculpt-A-Mold and cut them out right on top of the templates. It worked pretty well, but again, this stuff was pretty hard to cut. Ultimately, my goal for this thin sheet of Sculpt-A-Mold was to make it easier to put the Sculpt-A-Mold into those recesses. But the templates were not perfect, and the top piece that I put in had some gaps in it, so it didn't look right. The bottom piece you can see here, I'm having to kind of wedge and squeeze in there. That didn't look right, and ultimately it was sitting too far down. There was quite a bit of space between the bottom and the top of the wood, which I didn't like. Now that I've become an incredibly super master at using Sculpt-A-Mold, not just kidding, I'm going to go ahead and make it and fill in the rest of the areas with Sculpt-A-Mold without any tape. I know the Sculpt-A-Mold's getting on the wood timbers, and I'm just going to have to do my best to get it off of there. I was using a lot of water and sponges and paper towels to do my best. I eventually went back with a wire brush to kind of get some of it off. But ultimately, I'm going to go back and restain the wood timbers, just because I can't get rid of all the white that's in the wood. And as you can see here, by using the spatula or the putty knife in a different direction, it's creating some really cool rough texture with that Sculpt-A-Mold. It's making it look not perfect, which is what I was really going for. Now, no one's asking me, but I think that looks like a good old-fashioned medieval wattle-and-daub wall. Just doing here a little stain touch-up. Now, to put this medieval wall over the top, we need to weather it, make it look like it's been through 500-700 years of aging. So I'm trying to decide what base color I'm going to tint the white plaster walls. Obviously, having some white is fine, but we want the majority of the color to be something else that looks a little dirty and grungy. So I opted for the lighter color, the warm gray. I'm not really sure why it's called warm gray. It's more of a tan color, but I thought that suited best. It's really, really watered down. It's more of a wash that's kind of painted on and then rubbed off with a paper towel. And I wanted to work on the first wall first in case I messed up at all. This way it would be my guinea pig for the darker colored wall. Now, I haven't had any luck yet using this burnt umber acrylic ink. I just haven't quite figured out the technique for it yet. I was trying to antique these plaster walls a little bit. Unfortunately, it was staining more than it was painting or being used as a wash. Wasn't quite happy with it, and I'm glad I was using this to practice on instead. Now I'm going to throw a little dark umber on there to kind of make it look a little dirty, but I think it's safe to say that I'm going to call this particular wall a failure. I'm not happy with the way it turned out at all. Now it's time to give it the old college try, and I'm going to take what I learned from that first wall and apply it to the wall that's got the darker timber on it. Right now I'm applying that warm gray wash to it so we can start dirtying it up a little bit. Back to the raw umber, I'm going to make a little wash out of this one. I don't want it too heavy. I'm just going to kind of put it a little bit in the middle, and but mostly around the edges, so it looks like kind of the weathering has gone from the outside in. Now I'm going to use a little thicker of the dark umber and fill in where the cracks would be, so it looks like dirt's kind of gone into those recesses in this part of the wall now. Once I finished the painting, I thought I was done, but like always, I'm always trying to take it to the next level. Sometimes I ruin it, sometimes I don't. Here I kind of wanted to add some cracks in the daub, in the plaster, so it looked like it was kind of cracking and falling apart. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to add it so you could see some of the white showing through, so it wasn't so brown or antique looking or dirty. Sometimes I wish I just had somebody sitting over my shoulder and just telling me, stop, stop, don't do any more. But here, I did it anyways. I decided to try to add some weather streaking, and I feel like I totally blew it on this. I used black. I just couldn't get rid of it at this point. I do regret this part completely. At this point, I was planning on being done, but there was something rubbing me the wrong way. I thought it was too dark and grungy looking. I thought I overdid it with the coloring and the weathering. I got my wife's opinion, and she was like, yep, because I think it's too dark. And so I was like, oh boy. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can add some white back to the plaster. Here, I just cracked open a tube of titanium white, watered it down. It was a little thicker than washed, but I was trying to just kick back some of the dirt, the grunge, the weathered effect. See if I could kind of bring back that original white color of the plaster with some of the weathering still showing through. And here, I couldn't make those stupid weather streaks go away. So I felt like I was almost there. I was almost getting it back to where I wanted it. I think I was still leaving a little bit too much of the original darker brown, so I decided to use the white all around the edges as well. Because the paint was thinner, not a wash, but it was thinner. It was still allowing the brown to show through, but the brown wasn't being so dominant. All right, that's it. I'm done. Good or bad, whether this was successful or not, I'm leaving it where it is. I'm just going to take what I've learned, put it into my medieval house, and see what happens from there. If you enjoyed any part of this or got something out of it very cool, please like and subscribe. That helps the channel move forward. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.